What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be starting the process of doing the head gaskets on this 6.4 POWERSTROKE. And yes, this is a 6.4 POWERSTROKE. I have the cab off already because you have to pull the cab off to do this. So I will link a video in the description. If you haven't pulled your cab yet, I have a video on pulling the cab. Then you can come back to this video. This will be the removal video where we'll take the heads off. If you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Look me up on Instagram at darkirondiesel and shoot me a message. And please like and please subscribe, just because I put a lot of effort in these videos for you guys. But with that out of the way, let's get at her. Okay, so like I said in my cab removal video, it's been like probably 3 years since I did this, so bear with me if we kind of jump around. But this video should give you a good idea of what you're doing when you're doing a job like this. We are going to start by taking this downpipe off. Okay, we got the downpipe off. We're going to unzip all of these up pipes and everything off the turbo, off the exhaust manifold. There's a sensor here. I think there's a sensor, maybe this guy, but yeah, we're gonna pull all this piping off the back of the engine. These guys, you just kind of pry them forward a little bit like that, and you can slide them forward, and then you can press down and unplug them. Wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of soak these guys down with some WD-40 or something just before you zip them off, because they're probably gonna be pretty rusty. Hopefully they don't snap on you. Okay, here's something to watch out for. This is a very common failure on a 6.4 POWERSTROKE. See this up pipe? Look at all, like, just look at it. Look how black it is there. It's all soot. See this? That means this up pipe is cracked. So this up pipe's gonna have to be replaced, probably replace both of them. Okay, all the pipes are off the back. We're gonna go to the front. We're gonna take this rad shroud off. There's gonna have to kind of pop this clip out. And then there's 4 bolts. We should be able to pop this guy off. Okay, now this is loose. I can't get it off yet because we got to pull the fan. This is what I'm using. It's for an air hammer. You put it on there. This is left-handed thread. So to loosen it, you're actually going to turn the fan nut to the right. But yeah, I'm using this air hammer attachment, and it's probably what you're going to need to get it off because they are very tight. Okay, I got my air hammer on, and down there, this is sticking down onto the fan clutch nut. Now I'm gonna beat it to the right. Remember, right to loosen it on these trucks because it's got left-handed thread. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Just like that. I think it went there. Take this guy out. Yeah, it went. So now I'm just gonna turn the fan, and the nut is turning, and take it right off. All right, the fan and the shroud are off. I was always taught, even at a young age, that you're supposed to leave these fans upright. I don't know, some guys say it don't matter, but I always leave the fan upright. Take a picture of how this belt is run, just so you have record of it when you put it back together. And then just grab a ratchet here, and you're gonna push down on it, and then remove this belt. I think we can leave the AC belt on. I don't think we have to take it off, I don't remember. But yeah, just take this outer belt off. Get this upper rad hose out of the way. We're gonna take this fuel cooler off and this kind of pipe here. So there's these 2 fuel lines on the top. You're gonna have to take this hose off one of the sides. Watch out, some coolant might leak out. Disconnect your dipstick. And then I think there's 1, 2, 3. This one's busted on mine, but 4, 5. And you kind of just pop it off. Make sure you don't lose the copper washers, or this one's just got seals here. Don't lose them. I usually just put the bolts kind of back in their holes. If you get a pry bar and just kind of gently put it in here, it doesn't take much, see, and then you already kind of have it started to move. You can do the same thing on that side. Now you can just grab this whole fuel cooler assembly and just take it right off. Okay, you can unplug this connector here. Then we're gonna take the 2 fuel feed lines off of the turbos, and take this heat shield off of the turbos as well. Now we're going to remove this black plastic intake off of the turbo. And just wiggle and pop this guy out just so it doesn't fall out when we pull the turbos. Take there's 2 turbo hold down brackets, I guess. There's one here and one just on the other side, 15mm bolt. Take those 2 bolts out, and if you can, remove the brackets. Take this back heat shield off. remember that there is a ground strap that goes to that stud right there. And there's this little bracket here. Just remember all that stuff for when you put it back on. I kind of had to bend this to get it out, this heat shield. You could probably leave it in and take it off after you pull the turbos, but whatever, I took it off just because I wanted to get back in here with the pry bar a bit better and pry it. Some good places I like to pry from are right here, but very gently. And then same on the other side, kind of in here. And you just want to very gently work this turbo so that it's loose, like how mine is now. And then you're going to pull the turbos together. Typically they don't have bolts here. This one had bolts in here for some reason, but if they don't have bolts in here, put some bolts just for the removal process. They don't need to be in here though when the truck is put together. If yours has a mouse nest like mine does, just get a vacuum and suck that crap out before we go on. Get this guy off just by removing the 4 8mm bolts and taking this one little hose off the side. Unplug these 2 plugs. I believe this is your glow plug module. And then this guy right here, it plugs in down here. I just unplug it here and leave this part on the block. But yeah, we're going to undo a few bolts and we're going to move this whole glow plug module and bracket and take it right off the engine. Just like this. These 2 fuel lines that go on the back of the heads, we're just gonna crack them loose right here and then take them off on this side, and then I just swing them to the back and I just leave them on here. You can take them off if you want, but I'm just gonna pivot them so they're both pointing backwards. Just like that. Unplug your alternator and take the power wire off the back of it. Now we're gonna be removing this whole front piece here. There's 4 bolts, I believe, and this one is a little bit tricky to get at. You might have to put your ratchet in here and just move it down, and then you can zip it out. But yeah, there's 2 nuts and 2 bolts, and then this whole thing should come off right with the alternator and everything. Okay, so I actually had to take this belt off, which is just, there's another tensioner right here, lift it up, and you can slide this AC belt off and just leave it around the crank. And now this whole assembly should slide off. Oh, we're gonna have to take this off first, this pulley, and then it will all slide off. Pulley's off. There we go. See, I told you it's been a while since I did this. Okay, I want to get this wiring harness off the motor, just off to the side or in the front. I forget where I usually put it. I'm gonna go along and just start unplugging all the sensors I can. It's a good idea to take pictures of this stuff just so you can see how it's ran and that you remember when you're putting it back together. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug stuff like this AC line and all these sensors, and I'm gonna try to fold this off the engine. I'll let you know once I'm done kind of what I figured out. Okay, I'm going along and unplugging sensors here, and I think what I'm gonna do is for this coolant line here, I'm going to unbolt it. Just remember how this runs, how it goes in front of it and then behinds into this little kind of tab. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this plastic Y pipe coolant line thing. Okay, I got this whole wiring harness loose. Basically the only thing that's keeping me from being able to just fold it to the front is this one wired down in here. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to pull the intake manifold out underneath the harness. But to do that, it looks like first thing we're gonna do is there's this fuel line that runs down here. You're gonna unbolt the 2 10 mils here, and then it's got one of those, you gotta put the little kind of connector thing on it and to pop it off. These are the tools I'm talking about, the fuel line disconnect tools. Actually, change of plans. Instead of using that fuel line disconnect tool and popping that hose off, I'm just gonna go to this side, take these 2 fuel lines off, and unbolt this fuel filter housing and just pull the whole thing with that fuel line, because we got to get this off anyways. There, I pulled it off just like that. I don't know if it's the proper way to do it, but I thought that was the easiest. Unbolt this turbo oil drain and we'll try to pop it out. I popped it out using this upholstery tool that I've bent into a right angle, and yeah, get it out of there. Okay, I want to get this plastic coolant line out of here, but it's gonna be pretty tight fit. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna unbolt all of my intake manifold bolts, just so hopefully it will be a little bit loose after and we can pull that line out. We're just gonna have to remember when we install this to do it in the same steps that we're taking it apart, or else we're gonna run into some issues. Okay, I popped this pipe out so it's just loose in there. And then I was able to get this other bolt. So all the bolts are out on this side of the intake manifold. So now that this pipe is kind of loose in here, I should be able to get that one 8 mil, and then I can kind of lift it up and get that other 8 mil, which goes to this fuel line. But if we just unbolt that and probably disconnect it from the passenger side head, then we should be able to kind of move it out of the way, because we want to get this this intake manifold stud, the bolt, but right now I can't get at it because this bracket for the fuel line's on it. So we're gonna loosen up this fuel line and then try to get this stud, and then this intake manifold should be loose and we should be able to start pulling the stuff off. So this fuel line actually kind of goes here, and it also goes to the driver's side head, which right there, I unbolted that as well. And then it's unbolted at the back here, and I was able to lift it up, and now you can see we can move it and we can get access to the last bolt here for this intake manifold. I don't know if this is actually like the way you're supposed to be doing this, or if I'm doing it in the right order. I feel like it was easier last time I did it, but this is just how I'm doing it. So you guys can watch this video, decide if that's how you want to do it yourself. But like I said, there's other ways to do this job, and I'm not following any instructions or any book procedure. So, you know, I might not be doing this the way it's meant to be doing, but just keep that in mind when you're watching this video. Okay, so my intake manifold is loose. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull out this black plastic line. Just lift up on here and you should be able to maneuver it out. Okay, I got it out. I kind of had to like fish it out, but it is out now. Just remember the steps we're doing this when you're putting it back together. So you're gonna put your intake manifold on, but you're not gonna tighten it down. Then you're gonna put this guy on, and probably have to do something with this fuel line that we're gonna take off next. I'm just gonna get someone to kind of come and hold this fuel line out of the way, and I should be able to lift this intake manifold and slide it up front underneath this harness. Okay, that worked awesome. So now I'm just gonna pull this fuel line and get it right out of here. So here's that fuel line, and here's the intake. I always just leave all the bolts in it, just so you know which way they go. So remember, when we put this back on, we're gonna put that fuel line that's over there, we're gonna put that in place loose without bolting it down. Then we're gonna put that, then this on without bolting it down. And then we're gonna feed this tube in. And once those are all in place, you can start bolting them down. But just remember that on install. So now with that out of there, you should be able to fold your harness forward like so. And looks like we're getting pretty close to just being able to rip these valve covers off and take the heads off. Keep in mind, this truck doesn't have, it's got an EGR delete, so it should have an EGR cooler here and one kind of down there underneath or by this exhaust manifold on the driver's side. So you might have to do a little bit more with that. I don't remember, but just keep that in mind. This one is the EGR deleted, so if you have EGR, there might be a couple extra things you gotta do. Just keep it in mind. So I like to lay out have a table laid out with rags or something like that, just to put my engine parts on. So I like to put everything in the same order, keep it all in order. So if this is the front passenger side right here, then this is gonna be my front passenger, the front of the engine, and working to the back. And like this side will be driver's side front, working to the back, just because we're gonna start pulling off some engine parts. So first thing on this passenger side, here's a tranny dipstick. So we're gonna unbolt that, and then we're gonna work at pulling these glow plug electrical out. So here's one out. I like to just kind of use a upholstery tool and just get underneath it and kind of just gently work it and pop it out like that. Now you can pull your valve cover bolts. I like to mark the ones with studs. It looks like this one's already marked with red there, and you can see up here it's marked. I usually just use a paint marker, just give it a mark so when you reassemble you know which holes got the studs. Okay, valve cover's off. Now we're gonna go to the other side and do the same thing. So on this side, I usually unbolt this bracket that holds these two fuel lines, and I take this lifting hook right off. And then you're gonna do the same thing, unplug your glow plug harness, and you'll have to take these two 10 mils to get this bracket off, and then yeah, pull this valve cover off. Okay, now that we have both valve covers off, we're going to take these injector fuel lines out. Now the kits that I get for the head, they come with new fuel lines here, so I'd recommend getting new fuel lines because you're only supposed to use these once. But I have reused them before, and if you are, just make sure you keep them all in order so they go back on the same place they came off of. Okay, got all the fuel lines off. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go here and kind of pop off this injector harness, and then this plug right here, It just got kind of 2 tabs on each side. You're going to use 2 hands and you're going to push this in with a flathead screwdriver, push it in, and then pop this guy in and kind of push this connector into through this valve housing. Now you're going to disconnect the injectors. I usually just use a little pick and kind of push down this tab right here, and then use my other hand to pull at the same time, and you can get them off. If you're having trouble with these, I have actually just unbolted the injectors and pulled all 4 injectors out at a time, connected, but I'd recommend trying to get these off, just don't break them. And then this side, you're also gonna have that plug there. But yeah, do this to the other side as well and get this injector harness right out of the way. Once you have your injector harnesses off on both sides, grab a T45 Torx socket, and we're gonna remove the hold down clamps on the injectors, and we're going to pull the injectors out. And again, remember, these got to go back in the same cylinder that you take them out of, so keep it all in order. Looks like these ones have been out before because they actually have it numbered 1, 3, 5. Then this one doesn't have a number, but yeah, keep them all in order. I broke them loose with a ratchet, but here, I'll show you. These ones are nice because they actually pull the injector out with this clamp, so you'll see the injector come out as I loosen the bolt. Just like that. Then it's nice and loose, ready to come out. So this is what it should look like when you got them out. Just nice, everything, keep it neat, keep it in order. Now we're gonna go ahead and pull this fuel rail out. There's just 2 10 mils, I believe, and we're just gonna pop this fuel rail out and go put it with the rest of the stuff. Do it on both sides. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave these rockers on just for the time being. We're gonna go around and take all these little 8 mils, I believe, out, and we're gonna pull this kind of rocker housing off on each side. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and take these rockers off, and they're gonna come off in the pairs for like the exhaust and the intake. These 2 bolts on each one, pull them off together. Try to make sure that these rocker bridges don't fall off in the process. But yeah, pull these all off on both sides and keep them in order. Okay, now you can get the rest of the parts off here, like your rocker bridges. Just try to keep them all in order. You can get this whole kind of mounting bracket out, and you can pull your push rods out. And again, I know I keep saying this, keep it all in order. The same place it comes out, put it back in that same way. Make a note when you pull these push rods out. As you can see, one side's just kind of silver, and this other side's got some copper on it. Copper goes up, I believe. That's the way they are in this chuck, and if I remember correctly, that is the way they're supposed to be, with the copper end up. So just make note of that. Okay, this is what she looks like. Everything is in order. The way it came out looks all nice. We got both sides all apart. Now we're going to take the glow plugs out, and then after the glow plugs are out, I think we are basically ready to pull the heads. We're going to pull the heads with the exhaust manifold still attached, just because it's way easier to take the exhaust manifold off when you have the head sitting on a flat surface. So go ahead and pull your glow plugs on both sides. Okay, well, I think we're ready to pull the head off. So we're gonna start with these little bolts up at the top. I believe they're 10 mil. Just zip those guys out. And then once you have the little ones out, you're gonna start with the outside on each ones, and then work your way kind of into the middle. So start outside and work your way in. And yeah, you take the head bolts off of both sides, and then when you lift it, just keep in mind it's probably going to have coolant in it. It might leak on the ground. So, but yeah, we're going to take the heads off, and we're going to go find a table or something and put them on a flat surface, and we will get them ready to go to the machine shop. Okay, I got all my head bolts out. I forgot how tight they are on these POWERSTROKEs compared to like a Cummins or a Duramax, but should be loose. Watches. I put some floor dry down there. But yeah, see it, look at that. It's already leaking out there pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna pull these heads off. I have some cardboard set down that I'm gonna go set them on. Make sure again that you remember which head goes on which side. And yeah, we'll get them off and then we can strip them down. Okay, the heads are off. I used some punches here and actually punched an R for right hand and an L in this one. I also noticed that right here, mine says 11, so I wrote down 11. And this guy in the same place says 13. So I wrote down 13. So that should at least give me, I'll know which head is which when I get them back from the machine shop. If you just mark them with a paint marker, that probably won't be good enough, because at the machine shop, they're gonna like acid bath them and shit like that. So they're gonna look like really clean when they get back. You'll probably wash the paint marker off. But yeah, take some pictures of how it is right now. So where these studs go, this one's got a little bracket right there. But yeah, take off everything else. So the exhaust manifold, this bracket, I got this exhaust manifold, heat shield, I got these studs, take it all off. And then once you have it all stripped down, just like that, it will be ready to go to the machine shop. These studs here, they're just like an inverted Torx E8, I believe it is. Put it right on the end and then you can spin them off. Okay, the heads are stripped down. So that is it. One of my exhaust manifold bolts actually snapped, but I'm just gonna get the machine shop to get it out because they're way better set up to do it than I am. I'm not gonna waste my time drilling it out. They can do it. But yeah, I'm gonna load these up and they're gonna get sent away to a shop in town where they're gonna acid bath them, clean them up, resurface the bottom, pressure test them to make sure they're not cracked. And then once we get them back, I should say, we will put them on the truck and put it back together. So I peeled the head gaskets off of it, and you'll find that there's probably some coolant and stuff like that in some of your cylinders. So just grab rags and kind of clean them out for now. And I'm gonna leave this until I get the heads back. I'm gonna cover it up with some rags, and that's about it. So here's the gasket off the driver's side, sorry. So look at this. Look, this is actually cracked. There, you can really see this one. Look at how that's just cracked like that. So yeah, this head gasket was definitely blown. You can kind of see the nice black around here, and then it just disappears at the top. And that's definitely where the pressure was escaping. It's just totally ripped right apart. Here's the one from the passenger side. It looks a little bit better, but right here again, you can kind of see that. This one's got a crack in it right there as well. So while you have all your parts taken out of the truck and you send your heads away, you should really inspect all of these rocker arms because they are very prone to failing. And here is an example of what I'm talking about. So these are rollers, but see, they're actually kind of ground down to nothing. They don't roll anymore, they're just flat. So these are going to need to be replaced. And also, if you look at these valve bridges, it's actually pounded a hole right into it, like an indent there. So this is going to need to be replaced as well. So I actually need over half of these fail. So it's almost the same price for me to just order right from Ford a whole new kit. And that's what I did. So I'm going to be replacing all of these rockers. Here's what one is supposed to look like if you can see this. See how I can kind of just wiggle it around smoothly. It's nice. See how it actually sticks out a bit. But yeah, you should be able to roll them around. They should be loose, but not like falling out, but just feel really good like that. Compared to this one that is just completely stuck in there and shaved right down and all rough and coarse. And yeah, so just while you have this out, go over all of your parts and just check them out. Another thing you want to do is you want to inspect your push rods. So I like to roll them on a flat surface, and that will tell you if they're warped or bent. So we're gonna go do that right now. So I've already rolled all these and checked them, but this is a nice flat surface. And if I roll it, nice and smooth. If it was bent, it would kind of be going like wah, 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 you know? So you can tell by rolling them if they're nice and straight. And all of mine passed the roll-in test, so my push rods are good to go. You can also just kind of feel your push rods on either end. Make sure that they're nice and smooth and that this isn't worn, not grooved or anything like that. These plastic kind of rocker retainers, they like to break sometimes too, so just inspect all of them, make sure that they're still pivoting nice and they're not going to fall off. Kind of look at they should have that pivot ball underneath. So yeah, just go over everything with a fine-tooth comb and just make sure everything looks good, because you're going through this whole process. You don't want to replace it with or put faulty parts back in there and then have to take this all off again in the near future. So do it once, do it right. But yeah, I'm just going to cover everything up. All of these parts are good to cover with the rag, and cover your engine, any open hoses you don't want to get full of dust and whatnot. So I'm going to cover it up, and then we just got to wait for the heads to come back. Okay, got her all covered up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just gonna wait for the heads to come back from the machine shop. Once I have the install video completed, I will link it at the end page and in the description. But other than that, I put a lot of work in these videos for you guys, so please like it, please subscribe. If you got questions, ask in the comments or shoot me a message on Instagram at Dark Iron Diesel. And check out darkirondiesel.com, order a hat, order a shirt, something like that, if you want to show your support. But thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.